There comes a moment in every person's life when they quietly realize a truth they've been avoiding. The gap between the life they want and the life they have is built entirely from the choices they refuse to make. It doesn't happen in a dramatic moment, not during a crisis, not during a heartbreak, not during a failure. It happens in silence. It happens when you stare at a message you should send, but don't. When you lie awake, replaying a decision you're too afraid to make. When you feel the weight of your potential pressing on your chest, reminding you that you could be more, but you're not, because you keep waiting. This quiet hesitation, this invisible pause, is the battlefield Miyamoto Musashi warned us about. Not the duels he fought with blades, not the warriors he defeated across decades, but the inner war that millions lose every single day without ever realizing they've surrendered. It's the war against their own fear, against their own excuses, against their own fragile sense of self. And before we walk deeper into the ruthless lessons Musashi left behind, lessons that can change the trajectory of your life, let me ask one thing. If you find value in this journey toward inner strength and fearless living, consider subscribing to the channel so you don't miss the next insights designed to push you past the limits you've outgrown. Now let's step onto the path Musashi walked, a path carved through discomfort, truth, and uncompromising action. Musashi believes something most people never want to hear. Weakness is not something that happens to you. It's something you rehearse. Most people don't think of themselves as practicing weakness, but they do. Every time you avoid discomfort, you practice weakness. Every time you dodge a difficult conversation, you strengthen weakness. Every time you postpone a dream because you're afraid, you reinforce the identity of someone who retreats instead of advances. Weakness becomes familiar. It becomes comfortable. It becomes a routine you perform without noticing, and eventually, it becomes who you think you are. Musashi rejected this illusion. He understood that fear isn't a wall, it's a compass. When something scares you, it's pointing toward the exact place your growth lives. When something intimidates you, it reveals the next threshold you must cross. He learned early that courage does not arrive before action. It arrives because of action. People today wait for confidence. They wait for clarity. They wait for motivation. Musashi waited for nothing. He acted first. He understood that courage blooms in motion, not in thought. That confidence is earned through trial, not through intention. That clarity appears only when you walk into the unknown, not when you stand outside planning your steps. Imagine being 7 years old and walking away from home into an uncertain world, carrying nothing but your will. Musashi did this not because he was brave, but because survival demanded it. He learned something at 7 that most people never learn by 70. No one is coming to save you. You either move or you perish. You either push into the discomfort or you sink beneath it. You either build yourself or you crumble beneath your own excuses. This is why Musashi believed hesitation was a form of spiritual decay. He called it a dead spirit, the condition of a person who is alive in body, but asleep in purpose. When you hesitate, you send a message to yourself, my fear is stronger than my will. And the more often you send that message, the more your identity reshapes itself around it. Hesitation becomes a habit. A habit becomes a disposition. A disposition becomes a destiny. Think about the last time you bowed to fear. Did you feel relieved? Or did you feel smaller? Did avoidance make you stronger? Or did it chip away at you in a quiet, invisible way? Musashi would tell you that every avoided action is a teacher, and the lesson it teaches is always the same: that you fear your own potential more than you fear the challenge itself. One of Musashi's most overlooked beliefs was that people are not destroyed by failure. They're destroyed by the stories they tell themselves to justify staying the same. People protect their limitations as if losing them would mean losing a part of themselves. They cling to labels like, "I'm shy," "I'm anxious," "I'm not good at confrontation," or "I'm just not confident." Musashi saw these labels for what they truly are: shields that guard you not from danger, but from transformation. And transformation was the essence of Musashi's life. He didn't just seek to win duels. He sought to defeat the internal habits that made a person stagnant. He studied his fears the way a scientist studies a disease. He paid attention to the things that made him uncomfortable because he believed discomfort was the doorway to power. He wasn't interested in becoming a master of one thing. He was interested in becoming unshakable in everything. That's why he practiced carpentry, painting, calligraphy, sculpture, and strategy, because he understood that a weak place in the mind will eventually become a weak place in the sword. And that's the part modern people ignore the most. The weakness in your daily habits is the same weakness that will break you in moments of crisis. The conflict you avoid with your partner is the same avoidance that will sabotage you in your career. The fear you refuse to confront in your relationships is the same fear that will suffocate your creativity. Weakness is never contained. It spreads, it echoes, it follows you into every area of your life. This is why Musashi said that the path of the warrior knows no comfort. Comfort lulls you into forgetfulness. It creates the illusion of safety while quietly atrophying your ambition. Comfort is the enemy, not because it feels good, but because it slowly erodes the instinct to fight for your own potential. And that is the most dangerous loss a human can experience. Not the loss of opportunity, but the loss of will. Musashi taught that the most powerful thing a person can do is confront the part of themselves that wants life to be easier. Because that part is lying. Life does not get easier. You get stronger. But only if you stop running from the training life offers you. He believed the real battle is not against circumstances, but against the version of you that keeps choosing the smallest possible path. The part that says, "Not today." The part that says, "Maybe later." The part that says, "I'll change when I feel ready." Musashi would say, that part must die. Not through cruelty, but through decisive action. Strength, to Musashi, was not found in perfection, but in thresholds. Whoever increases their threshold for discomfort increases their capacity for life itself. The person who can withstand boredom can build mastery. The person who can withstand uncertainty can build opportunity. The person who can withstand fear can build destiny. Weakness is merely a sign that your thresholds are too low, and thresholds can be expanded. This is why Musashi embraced situations that exposed his weaknesses. He went toward the discomfort that others fled from. He saw fear not as a warning, but as an invitation. To eliminate weakness, you must first illuminate it. And nothing illuminates your weaknesses faster than walking directly into the thing you've been avoiding. Yet modern people misunderstand strength. They expect growth to feel inspiring. They expect courage to feel empowering. They expect discipline to feel smooth and orderly. Musashi would laugh. Strength feels ugly. Growth feels raw. Courage feels nauseating. Discipline feels boring before it feels beautiful. But the person who embraces these sensations, rather than resisting them, becomes unstoppable. Musashi's philosophy reveals a truth that shakes you awake. You do not become strong by adding more comfort. You become strong by removing the illusions that comfort creates. When you strip away distraction, you find clarity. When you strip away excuses, you find honesty. When you strip away avoidance, you find courage. When you strip away hesitation, you find power. Strength isn't something you build on top of who you are. Strength emerges when you remove everything that keeps you from becoming who you could be. But Musashi's most brutal lesson, the one people fear the most, is that weakness survives only when you continue giving it shelter. It thrives in the shadows of your hesitation. It grows each time you negotiate with your fear, each time you surrender to the familiar, each time you choose the path that demands nothing of you. Musashi believed that if a person wants to change their destiny, they must first confront the part of themselves that is addicted to softness. And that part of you is clever. It disguises itself with beautiful excuses. You're tired. You deserve a break. Today isn't the right moment. You're not ready yet. What if it goes wrong? These thoughts may sound gentle, protective, even reasonable, but they are thieves. They steal your potential one small agreement at a time. Musashi would say that weakness does not strike in dramatic moments. It corrodes in invisible ones. It erodes your identity silently, day after day, until one morning you wake up and realize you have trained yourself into a life that feels too small for your spirit. And this is where Musashi's philosophy becomes terrifyingly liberating. What you fear the most is the exact doorway to the person you are meant to become. Musashi ran toward the challenges he feared because he understood that beyond fear lies a version of ourselves we have never met, stronger, sharper, clearer, braver. Not because fear disappears, but because you outgrow the person who was afraid. This is why he deliberately sought opponents who could exploit his weaknesses, not to lose, but to evolve, not to suffer, but to sharpen, not to be humiliated, but to be reborn. Modern life has removed danger, but it hasn't removed the enemy. The enemy simply changed form. It became internal. Your greatest battles today are fought with conversations you avoid, goals you postpone, boundaries you don't set, and dreams you starve by inaction. You aren't lacking opportunity. You're lacking confrontation with yourself. Musashi believed that the deepest cowardice is not fear. It is avoidance. Fear is human. Avoidance is a choice. And most people are so skilled at avoiding their own potential that they go through life convincing themselves they are incapable of what they've never even tried. And here lies the truth Musashi believed above all else. A person becomes unstoppable the moment they stop negotiating with the part of themselves that wants an easier life. When Musashi locked himself inside a cave for 2 years, he wasn't hiding from the world. He was stripping himself of everything that made him soft. Silence became his training ground. Solitude became his forge. Discomfort became his teacher. He understood that the world cannot break a person who has already broken their own weakness. He emerged from that cave not as a better swordsman, but as a different being. One who understood the weight of self-honesty. That is the true battlefield, the mirror. Most people cannot look into their own reflection long enough to admit the truth about how they are living. Musashi demanded that truth from himself every single day. This is why he said, "Today is no different than ever." Not because days are identical, but because the opportunity to act, to grow, to fight, to choose differently is always present. Waiting for a perfect tomorrow is the greatest self-deception. There is no right time. There is only the moment you stop lying to yourself. So ask yourself honestly, What are you postponing because you're afraid? What conversation have you left rotting in silence? What dream have you allowed to wither because you refuse to begin? What part of your life feels small because you refuse to expand? These aren't abstract questions. They are diagnostic tools. They reveal the exact places where your courage is trapped behind the glass of hesitation. Musashi believed that people are not afraid of challenges. They are afraid of who they must become to meet them. Every time you choose to do the difficult thing first, you collapse a piece of your old identity. Every time you willingly step into fear, you harden your character. Every time you act without overthinking, you build an internal strength that cannot be shaken by opinion, failure, or judgment. And here is the shift Musashi wants you to experience. Stop trying to feel courageous before you act. Act, and courage will follow. Your brain rewires itself through action. Your identity evolves through action. Your confidence is built through action. Weakness is defeated through action. That is the ruthless mercy Musashi offers. You do not need to wait for internal transformation before you begin. The beginning is the transformation. Some people spend their entire lives waiting for a feeling that only appears after they take the step they fear. And Musashi would tell you, this is the tragedy of the ordinary. They are waiting for an emotion that can only be earned, never granted. So what does it mean to stop being weak in Musashi's world? It means doing the thing you avoid. It means walking toward the fear instead of away. It means speaking the truth you've been disguising. It means building the discipline you've been postponing. It means choosing the path that makes you stronger, not the one that feels safe. Weakness is not eliminated through intention. It dissolves when you stop protecting it. If you're feeling something in your chest right now, a pull, a tension, a resistance, that's the signal. That's the fear Musashi wants you to walk toward. That's the exact place where your new life begins. Wherever your instinct says, not that, Musashi would say exactly that. And before we close, if this message resonates with you, if you feel that fire, that discomfort, that awakening, then make sure you subscribe and stay connected. Because every week, we walk deeper into these ancient principles that can reshape the strength, clarity, and courage inside you. Now let's finish Musashi's path with the final truth. Musashi believed that greatness isn't built through extraordinary talent. It's built through everyday confrontation with the self. And the person who wins that internal battle eventually comes to a place ordinary people never reach. A life where fear is not an obstacle, but a compass. A life where difficulty is not a burden, but a training ground. A life where you do not shrink to meet your doubts. You expand to overwhelm them. You don't need a sword. You don't need a battlefield. You need only the willingness to stop running from yourself. When you walk toward the thing you fear, you stop being weak. When you stop being weak, you stop being lost. And when you stop being lost, you become unstoppable. Musashi left the path behind. Now you have to walk it.